All right, who's here for Israel and who's just hanging out? It doesn't matter. I'm just wondering. So okay, all right, good. Okay. That's yeah. Okay. So we'll get started then. All right, greetings to the folks who came. Like I said, we'll have another opportunity if you're watching online. We'll have another opportunity to talk about this in person on Wednesday at 5:30. But we'll talk a little bit about today and continue to talk about it. But the purpose of our gathering is to talk about our trip to Israel that we're planning for June 13th through 22nd. And so Aaron Garber, our choir director and organist, but also who leads tours, is here. And I'm going to invite him up here so he can have an opportunity to talk a little bit about the trip, go over some of the details. You may have read about some of them online, but we'll have the opportunity just to check in and make sure that we're clear about what we're up to, and also any questions that we might have. So, Aaron, if you're up here or I'm up here, if somebody asks a question, just repeat it so people at home can hear it.
Okay. Okay. Well, hello everybody. Good to see you all. So in front of you, you should all. Does that? Do you need one of these? Does that take one to Alan too? So you have the full itinerary here in front of you that just goes through day by day. I'm working with a company called Pilgrim Tours. I've worked with them before when I led a church group to Greece. So I have some history with Pilgrim Tours, and they do a really good job. I'm not going to read through everything that you can read through on your own. All this is online as well, but just the highlights are some of what you would expect. Caesarea, Nazareth, Magdala, Sea of Galilee, Jordan River, Jerusalem, things like that. And if you turn over to the third page, just to call out, the tour costs are for this trip based on how many people we get. So the more we get, the less the trip becomes. So let's try to get a few more. It'll save all of us money. And then to reserve your place on the tour, you need $300 per person deposit, and then you can go to the link there and fill out a reservation form. And there are a lot of details about how you can do that. Pastor Allen and I will be on the tour the entire time, and it shows everything that's included there. And then on the back you have some pictures, what's not included, and then pictures of some of the places we'll go. Yeah. So I think it's just best to probably open it up to questions. There are a lot of details here, but any questions you might have about the trip in particular?
I have not looked at the website.
Okay.
Does the tour cost include air flight, air travel, and everything?
Yes. Yeah. So if you look, yes. So it will include the flight from Dulles. So we're flying. The routes do change sometimes, but as of right now, we're flying Dulles, Frankfurt, Tel Aviv, and then we come back Tel Aviv, Vienna, Austria, here. And also included in the price is a bus or van, whatever size we need, from this church parking lot. So all you have to do is, and that's very convenient, and I think pretty good selling point. You just have to show up at the church, and we'll get you to Dulles, and that's all included. Yeah.
Aaron, I've heard some people raise about the safety of the trip. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Okay, yeah, the questions about the safety of the trip. And my feeling is, the Middle East hasn't been safe. You could probably comment maybe biblically better than I can, but it hasn't been the safest place to go for a long time, and it probably won't be for a while. So I'm not worried about it being less safe than it could be at any other particular time. what I do know is I don't really hear about Americans having tons of issues over there. I mean, you don't. Are there places that we want to avoid? Of course, we'll avoid those. These are the highlights, and these are places that are safe. You don't hear about. If tourists were having problems over there, we would hear about it, and we wouldn't go. So I can't say there's like zero concern, but I'm not really worried about that at all. That's just my opinion. But I think that's based on facts. So.
This is not open just to our church, it's open to anybody.
That is correct. The question is this open to everybody, not just people in our church? And that is correct. In fact, the first 2 people I had sign up for this were people not affiliated with this church. Yes.
On the air travel, I noticed the second bullet, that includes transfer from Salem to Dulles.
That's right.
Coach.
Right, yes. Yeah, the question was about the transfer from Salem to Dulles, and it would be hopefully we have a big enough group, it'll be a coach, like a 54-seat bus. If we're a smaller group, it could be a 25 or 35-seater, but yes, that is included. Yes.
Are these flights red eyes?
The question is, are the flights red eyes? And the time is, I believe, there are overnight flights. The one going over is overnight. And then coming back, we should be able to start one day and come back the same day. But it is a typical overnight flight on the way over, yes. Okay. Okay, sure. So the question is about trip insurance. And yeah, I do sell insurance through Allianz. It's actually the very back page, if you have it there, about not included. And you can get either medical or cancellation insurance. Allianz is a really good company and a really big insurance company that I've worked with for a while. And you can get coverage for, like I said, either medical if you want that, or cancellation. Now, there are a couple of ways to get cancellation insurance. The regular cancellation insurance would cover if there's a death in a family, if you get hurt, all those kind of usual things that might happen, if you get sick. But you do have an option to get a kind of a cancel for any reason or cancel any time insurance. That means if you just wake up a week before and say, I just don't feel like going, you can do that. You only get 80% of your tour back, whereas the other would cover 100%. But there are ways to do that. And that one, of course, would cost usually about 150% more than the regular. But I can help you with any of those insurance questions or needs.
I was just going to say something real quick. So I'll let Aaron run through the highlights, just particularly in case anybody's watching online. From our perspective, somebody asked about, can people who don't go to the church go? Absolutely. But we are really trying to, we want to really emphasize this at our church as a good opportunity. So, and as Aaron said, it gets cheaper the more people who go. And so if you're here and you're really interested in going, we hope that you'll go, but also we hope that you'll try to encourage other people to really consider it, because I do think it has the potential to offer some real transformation for folks who are part of our church. And so, we want to go on a tour. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun. But we also believe that this is spiritual pilgrimage is the way we're looking at it. And so we want you look at it that way as well. And so this could be an opportunity for the Spirit to work in our church. So that was just from the Aaron's got all the great tour details, but from the church perspective, that's part of why we're doing this. Is we're trying to create opportunities for us to have that. So we realize this is a pretty hardcore one, but it's worth it. So, but yeah, I'll let Aaron run through just a little bit of kind of what we're going to do, and then after that, we'll see if there's any more questions, and then we'll wrap it up because I know he's got to get the choir ready.
Okay. I was just trying to find the exact flight times. That's why I wasn't scrolling through upcoming football games. I was looking for the flight times, but it is an overnight flight going over. So yeah, because we do have some people online who don't have this in their hand. Let me just go through some of the highlights as well. And we'll have paper copies available at the church, but you can also go to internationaltourco.com, internationaltourco.com for all of this. So yeah, we fly over, like I said, we meet here in the parking lot. We go up to Dulles, we'll fly over, and then where it says day 2, will just be a time to meet our guide and kind of to relax and get prepared. The third day, you see, some of the highlights are Caesarea and Nazareth. Of course, the boyhood home of Jesus, where we visited Nazareth village, biblical times, recreation of biblical times with costume guides. Then we head towards the Sea of Galilee, which if you look online to see pictures of that, that's really, I think that's really, really neat. Day 4 there is we go to Dan or Don or whatever, however you want to say it. We'll go to Capernaum, and we'll see the hometown of Mary Magdalene. So like I say, all these highlights. Day 5, we're going to the Jordan River baptismal site, which I think will be a really neat place to see. We then go to the most magnificent archaeological site in Israel, which is, I may not say it right, Beit Shean. We'll go with that. So we get to see that. We go to Jericho that day as well. And then we'll be at the Dead Sea. So if you want to float in the sea, here's your opportunity. It's the top of the second page, where you can float in the Dead Sea before dinner. We don't get to do that around here a whole lot. Then day 6, we'll go up to Masada, and then we'll go to the Spring of the Goat, which is an oasis on the western shore of the Dead Sea. And because the warm climate and abundant supply of water, the site has developed a reputation for fragrant plants and date palm groves. So, it's something else on this trip. We'll get to see some trees and plants that we don't really get to see back here. Also, that's where King David hid from Saul, and where God defeated enemies of the Israelites. We'll see the Qumran caves, where the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered as well. And then we'll go to Abraham's tent. So there's just so many things, so many sights to see. The following day, on day 7, we see Temple Mount, the Pool of Bethesda, Stephen's Gate, St. Anne's Church. Then after that, on day 8, we'll go to Mount Moriah and the Dome of the Rock, from atop the Mount of Olives, and then on to the Garden of Gethsemane. And we'll visit the Upper Room. And then the following day, we go to the Israel Museum, the House of Caiaphas, and some other places as well. And then we'll fly home. So many places that we've heard of, maybe some that we haven't heard of. That's just a quick overview, especially for the people online. Where should we leave these?
What I would say is, especially if you're watching online, but also if you just want it, I would contact the church office and we can email a copy to folks if you want, and that might be the best way. We'll also leave a stack in the church office for folks who might want to do it. And the next kind of step in this will be, Aaron and I are going to talk after the interest meetings today and on Wednesday and talk about kind of the deadline for when we need people to start. Because do we have a deadline for deposit yet?
I don't have a hard deadline.
Yeah, we don't have a hard deadline yet. We're going to need to get to a hard deadline to start to see how many folks we're going to get, because I realize it's a big commitment, so I know we're all kind of like thinking about it. So, but that'll be kind of be the next big thing we'll do is try to set some kind of deadline to say, okay, we got to know by this point who's going, what the deposits look like. And also, like I said, we are trying to push this at our church first, and so we may have a deadline for the church that may not be the final deadline, just because Aaron will open it up more. I mean, it's on his website. Any customers he has that want to go can go, but he may sort of advertise a little more with some of his base a little bit more, because again, we want a lot of people to go because it helps with the cost and all that kind of stuff. And so, but like I said, we'll be in touch about the deadline, and I'll write down everybody who's here to make sure that if we have like an email list or something for information, we can send it out. So, any final questions that anybody has? Thanks for coming. So, okay, great. And if you have any personal questions that you want to ask Aaron or me, we're glad to answer them. I'm good for the church side of it. Aaron's the one who has the details on the tour itself, and he's got the experience. I mean, when we hired Aaron as our organist and our choir director, you know, we said primarily, of course, we want him for the great gifts that he shares, but also he brings this really great gift that he has for leading people on these kind of tours, and so we want to also let him use all of his gifts. And so, and I experienced these firsthand this week because of all the trouble we had getting back from Kansas, and so Aaron was instrumental in making sure that we got where we needed to, and all the things. So that was I can attest to his gifts for that. That made our trip as a staff much smoother because Aaron was taking care of a lot of those details himself. So anyways, thanks for coming, and we'll be in touch soon. Thank you.